In a small, unassuming town, a church that had seen better days was losing hope as its congregation dwindled. Everything changed when Pastor Samuel arrived. Tall and charismatic, with a commanding presence, he captivated the congregation with his deep, resonant voice and piercing eyes. Always well-groomed in sharp suits, his magnetic personality and good looks made him the object of admiration for many women, despite being married to the equally captivating Remi. Remi, with her warm smile and graceful presence, complemented her husband's charisma perfectly. Stylish and poised, she stood out as the ideal partner to Pastor Samuel. Together, they presented a picture of a young, dynamic couple leading their church with passion and dedication. However, it was Pastor Samuel's charm and demeanor that particularly attracted the attention of many women in the congregation. His approach to ministry was anything but ordinary, and he had a way of seeing the divine in the most unexpected places. One of his most peculiar instructions was that the dirt collected during the church's cleaning should never be thrown away. Instead, he insisted it be kept in a special place. The cleaners, dedicated and faithful as they were, found this request baffling. They had questions swirling in their minds. Why would a man of God want to keep dirt? What possible purpose could it serve? Yet, despite their curiosity, none of them dared to ask Pastor Samuel directly. His presence commanded a certain reverence, and his unwavering conviction left little room for doubt. So, they followed his instructions without question. Each time they swept the floors and dusted the pews, they carefully collected the dirt and placed it in the designated spot. It became a routine, a ritual almost, carried out with a mix of bewilderment and silent obedience. Every month, after the dirt had accumulated, Pastor Samuel would take it away, leaving the cleaners to wonder what he did with it. What they didn't know was that Pastor Samuel had a secret ritual. He would take the collected dirt to a secluded spot and burn it until it turned to ashes. These ashes held a special significance for him. He believed they were imbued with the prayers and faith of the congregation, transformed through the fire into a powerful substance. With great reverence, Pastor Samuel would gather the ashes and use them in his private moments of prayer. He would rub the ashes on his hands, feeling a deep connection to the divine. This ritual was his way of channeling the collective faith and devotion of his congregation into his own spiritual practice. Every time he instructed the cleaners to collect the dirt, he was preparing for this sacred process. The ashes became a symbol of transformation and renewal, a tangible reminder of the power of faith. Pastor Samuel's unconventional methods were rooted in his deep belief that even the simplest elements could be vessels of God's extraordinary power. The cleaners, unaware of these secrets, continued their work with a sense of duty and curiosity. They couldn't have imagined the profound significance of their actions or the role they played in the pastor's miraculous healings. It was a mystery that remained hidden, known only to Pastor Samuel and the divine presence he felt so deeply. This is how it all started. Pastor Samuel and his wife Remi were both working together. The cult they joined had to use the dirt from the church and to sleep with church members as a sacrifice. They had a covenant as husband and wife. They have to sleep with a member together. This was part of the ritual. Were they given a pot to choose from? Whatever pot you choose would determine what miracle you will do. Between prophesy, miracle to healing. Between myself and my wife we got all 3 miracles. We were then told to go into this big pot that was burning. I could see steam from the pot. Myself and wife looked at each other in fear. But we wanted money and fame, so we got into the pot. For some reason the water was as hot as it looks. That was our cleansing ceremony. The woman we slept with will get what they want, but whatever they carry affects the men they are married to as well. Pastor Samuel's church experienced remarkable growth, transforming from a modest congregation into a bustling center of faith and miracles. News of the miraculous healings and the pastor's unique methods spread quickly throughout the town and beyond. People from all walks of life flocked to the church, eager to witness the wonders for themselves and seek blessings. Among the many who heard about the church were 2 friends, Julie and Fiki. Julie was desperately searching for a scholarship to continue her education, while Fiki longed to find a husband. Both women were determined to attend the church service, hoping that Pastor Samuel's divine touch could change their lives. On a crisp Sunday morning, Julie and Fiki woke up earlier than usual, filled with anticipation. They knew the church would be packed, so they wanted to ensure they got good seats. As they approached the church, they saw a long line of people already waiting to get in. The air was buzzing with excitement and hope. Inside the church, the atmosphere was electric. The pews were filled to capacity, and the aisles were crowded with people standing, all eyes fixed on Pastor Samuel. The service began with powerful hymns and fervent prayers, setting the stage for what was to come. After 2 hours of waiting as praise and worship set the tone, Pastor Samuel finally took the pulpit. A hush fell over the congregation. He spoke with a calm authority, his words resonate deeply with everyone present. His preaching didn't last more than 30 minutes when he began to perform his miracles. The energy in the room intensified. People were healed, prayers were answered, and faith was renewed. Julie and Fiki watched in awe as the miracles unfolded before their eyes. They felt a deep sense of connection and hope, believing that their own prayers would soon be answered. The experience left them inspired and filled with a renewed sense of purpose. For Julie, her search for a scholarship seemed endless and filled with obstacles. However, after attending Pastor Samuel's service, she felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. Fiki, on the other hand, had been longing for a loving and supportive partner. After the service, she continued to attend the church regularly, becoming more involved in the community. The ladies wanted more. This is when they booked a one-to-one meeting with the pastor, where they had to pay a lot of money for the meeting. Remi, Pastor Samuel's wife, extended a warm invitation to Julie and Fiki. She approached them with a kind smile and suggested they come over to their house for a private prayer session and some refreshments. Eager to deepen their connection with the church and hopeful for their own miracles, the two friends gladly accepted. That evening, Julie and Fiki arrived at what they believed to be the pastor's house. Remi welcomed them in and offered them drinks, assuring them that the pastor would join them shortly. The atmosphere was serene, and the women felt at ease as they sipped their beverages. However, the drinks had an unexpected effect. They went into a deep sleep. When they awoke the next morning, they found themselves in a different house altogether. The room they were in looked unfamiliar, and the surroundings were not what they remembered from the previous night. Confused and disoriented, Julie and Fiki tried to piece together what had happened. The house they were in now seemed more opulent and mysterious, with an eerie silence hanging in the air. They realized that something was amiss and that the place they had woken up in was not the same as the one they had entered the night before. What had happened to them? How were they moved from one house to another? As they gathered their thoughts, the door creaked open, and Remi entered the room with a calm demeanor. She explained that they were safe and that this was part of the house where guests were kept. The women, though still bewildered, felt a strange sense of anticipation and unease about what was to come next. Soon after, there was a knock at the door, and Remi smiled as she said, "The driver is here to take you home." She directed the driver to take the women home. The driver felt a familiar pang of unease as he glanced at Julie and Fiki through the rearview mirror. Over the months, he had seen many young women come and go, each one leaving the house looking like a shadow of their former selves. Their once bright eyes now seemed dull, their expressions vacant and haunted. As Julie and Fiki sat in silence, the driver couldn't help but feel a deep sense of sorrow and helplessness. He had long since stopped asking questions, knowing that his role was to transport these women without interference. Yet, each journey weighed heavily on his conscience. Watching them through the mirror, he noticed their confusion and the way they clung to each other for comfort. He wished he could offer them some reassurance, but he knew his words would be empty. The silence in the car was thick with unspoken fears and unanswered questions, and the driver could only hope that one day, the truth would come to light and these women would find the peace they deserved. The confusion kept them silent, and they never spoke about it. No matter how much they tried to remember, their minds were blocked, leaving them with an unsettling feeling that something significant had been erased from their memories. The mystery of what had truly happened that night lingered, leaving them and the audience in suspense. The driver had a long-standing connection to Remi and Pastor Samuel, having worked for them for several years. He was initially hired as a simple chauffeur, responsible for driving the pastor and his wife to various church events and personal engagements. Over time, however, he became more deeply entangled in their secretive and unsettling activities. Despite his growing discomfort, the driver felt trapped by his circumstances. He needed the job to support his family and feared the consequences of speaking out against the powerful couple. His role gradually shifted from a mere driver to a silent witness of the strange and disturbing occurrences involving the young women who visited the pastor's house. The driver had seen too much but felt powerless to intervene. His connection to Remi and Pastor Samuel was one of reluctant complicity, bound by necessity and fear. Each journey with a new passenger weighed heavily on his conscience, leaving him haunted by the shadows of the women who had come and gone, their lives forever altered by their encounters with the pastor and his wife. Within a few weeks, Julie received an unexpected call from a prestigious university offering her a full scholarship. It was a dream come true, and she knew that her faith and persistence had played a crucial role in this blessing. Fiki also met a kind and compassionate man who shared her values and faith. Their connection grew stronger over time, and they eventually got married, fulfilling Fiki's heartfelt prayer for a husband. Both women experienced the power of faith and the impact of Pastor Samuel's ministry in their lives. Rumors began to spread that the church became full, mostly women that were looking for husbands. Remi worked alongside her husband to get more women. Naledi had recently moved to the town and was eager to find a new church community. Her friend Julie, who had been attending Pastor Samuel's church, invited her to join a service. Naledi, a devout Christian with a strong sense of discernment, agreed and looked forward to the experience. As she sat in the church, Naledi couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The atmosphere felt different from what she was used to, but she brushed it aside, attributing it to the new environment. She focused on the service, hoping to find the spiritual connection she sought. After the service, Naledi waited for Julie, who had been sitting in a different section of the church. As she stood near the entrance, Remi, Pastor Samuel's wife, approached her with a welcoming smile. "You must be one of the new people," Remi said warmly. Naledi nodded, feeling a mix of curiosity and unease. In this church, it was customary for all new attendees to go to the front for a special prayer and blessing. Remi guided Naledi towards the front, where a few other newcomers were already gathered. As Naledi joined them, she couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. She hoped this would be the beginning of a meaningful spiritual journey, despite the lingering feeling that something wasn't quite right. Julie soon joined her, and together they stood among the new members, ready to receive the church's blessing. Naledi prayed silently, asking for guidance and clarity, trusting that her faith would lead her to the truth. Naledi's discernment did reveal something unusual about Pastor Samuel's church. As she stood at the front with the other newcomers, she felt a growing sense of unease. During the special prayer, she noticed subtle details that others seemed to overlook. The way Pastor Samuel and Remi exchanged glances, the almost imperceptible tension in their voices, and the peculiar energy in the room all contributed to her discomfort. Naledi's strong sense of discernment made her more attuned to these subtle cues. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the church than met the eye. After the service, she shared her concerns with Julie, who initially dismissed them as nerves. However, Naledi's intuition told her to remain cautious and observant. Then, one Sunday morning, the mystery began to unravel. Pastor Samuel called for the dirt to be brought forward during the service. With a fervent prayer, he took a handful and began to sprinkle it over the sick and the suffering who had come seeking miracles. To everyone's astonishment, miraculous healings began to occur. The blind could see, the lame could walk, and the terminally ill were restored to health. The church erupted in joy and praise, and word of these miracles spread like wildfire. People from far and wide flocked to the church, eager to witness the pastor's divine power. The once empty pews were now overflowing, and the church became a beacon of hope and faith. But as the miracles continued, so did the questions. What was the true source of the pastor's power? As he used the dirt, he quoted John 9 verse 6 to 25, where Jesus healed a blind man with mud and his spit. Was it really the dirt, or was there something more profound at work, some asked. Over the next few weeks, Naledi had questions that needed answers. She asked Julie, who was too excited to tell her how the church has changed her life. Naledi continued to attend the church, paying close attention to everything around her. She began to notice patterns and behaviors that seemed out of place for a place of worship. Her discernment, combined with her faith, guided her to seek the truth behind the church's facade. Naledi was both surprised and intrigued when Remi invited her to their house. Remi explained that it was a tradition for new members to visit, a gesture of welcome and fellowship. Naledi, always cautious, shared the invitation with her friend Julie. Julie listened carefully and then revealed that she had also been to the pastor's house. However, she didn't disclose the strange events of the following morning. She kept to herself, but told herself this time she won't drink anything. Instead, she reassured Naledi that the visit was part of the church's customs. The night before Naledi went to the pastor's house had a vivid dream where God warned her not to drink anything offered and revealed Isaiah 41 verse 10 to her. So do not fear, for I am with you, do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. This verse gave Naledi comfort and guidance. The day of the visit, she and Julie arrived at the pastor's home, which looked welcoming and serene. Despite her fears, Naledi felt a quiet strength within her, trusting that her faith would protect her. As they entered the house, Remi greeted them warmly and led them to a cozy sitting area. Naledi could feel the weight of the verse in her heart, a reminder of God's presence and protection. She resolved to stay vigilant and trust in the guidance she had received. As usual, Remi offered Naledi and Julie a drink shortly after they arrived. Remembering the warning from her dream, Naledi discreetly poured her drink into a plant beside the couch. Julie, showing signs of tiredness, Naledi caught on and pretended to be drowsy as well. Remi excused herself for a moment, leaving the room. When she returned, she found both women lying on the couch, seemingly asleep. With a commanding voice, she ordered, "Take them away." Naledi and Julie were carried to a dark room draped with red and black curtains. The room was dimly lit by flickering candles, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Human skeletons were arranged around the room, adding to the unsettling atmosphere. The air was thick with an unbearable smell, a mix of incense and decay. Both women were laid on a bed in the center of the room. Despite their fear, they remained still, hoping to find a way out of this terrifying situation. Naledi clung to the verse from Isaiah, praying for strength and protection as they faced the unknown. As Naledi and Julie lay on the bed in the dark, eerie room, they tried to remain calm and think of a way to escape. The unsettling atmosphere and the smell made it difficult to focus, but Naledi kept repeating Isaiah 41 verse 10 in her mind, drawing strength from her faith. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and Remi entered the room, dressed in a long black nightdress, accompanied by Pastor Samuel, also in a dark robe. They began to chant in a language neither Naledi nor Julie could understand, heightening the tension in the room. The candles flickered, casting ominous shadows on the walls. As the chanting grew louder, Naledi felt a surge of fear and desperation. Pastor Samuel and Remi slept together. After that, Pastor Samuel and Remi both began to touch Julie while she slept, unaware what was happening to her. She knew she had to do something. Summoning all her courage, she screamed, "Jesus!" Her voice echoed through the room, cutting through the eerie chants. Instantly, both Remi and Pastor Samuel were shocked. They stopped chanting and turned to Naledi, their faces contorted in rage. The flickering lights suddenly went out, plunging the room into darkness. The only sound was the heavy breathing of everyone in the room. In the pitch-black room, Naledi continued to call out to Jesus, her faith unwavering. The atmosphere shifted, and she felt a sense of protection and strength enveloping her. Remi and Pastor Samuel's anger turned to fear as they realized they were losing control. Taking advantage of the confusion, Naledi grabbed Julie's hand and whispered for her to follow. Guided by the faint light from the candles outside the room, they made their way to the door. With a final prayer for strength, they pushed through and ran into the night, leaving the dark, oppressive room behind. Naledi and Julie didn't stop running until they were far from the house. Once they felt safe, they stopped to catch their breath. Naledi and Julie knew they had narrowly escaped a dangerous situation. "What just happened out there?" Naledi asked Julie. Early that morning, Naledi uploaded the recording to various social media platforms. The video quickly went viral, exposing the sinister practices of Pastor Samuel and Remi. The church members were devastated. Some were in disbelief, unable to reconcile the evidence with their faith in the pastor. Others began to recall the strange rituals, like the dirt that was always kept, and started to piece together the truth. As the scandal unfolded, Pastor Samuel and Remi burnt their mansion in order to make people believe that had committed suicide as they attempted to flee the town in a desperate bid to escape the consequences of their actions. In their haste, their car veered off the road and crashed. Though they survived, Pastor Samuel lost both his legs, and Remi was left blind. It was a harsh and ironic twist of fate, a form of retribution for the deceit and harm they had inflicted on so many families. In the aftermath of the crash, many women began to regain their memories. They started to speak out about their experiences, recalling how Remi had invited them to her house, only for them to wake up the next morning in a different, unfamiliar place. The details of their stories were eerily similar, painting a disturbing picture of manipulation and deceit. For the women who had sought miracles to conceive, the revelations were even more shocking. As they began to conduct paternity tests, they discovered that none of their children were fathered by Pastor Samuel. As he had sacrificed his seed to the devil, he wasn't able to have children. This revelation added another layer of betrayal to their already painful experiences. The revelations about Pastor Samuel and Remi sparked significant protests and demonstrations within the community. Outraged by the deceit and manipulation, many community members took to the streets to demand justice and accountability. The protests were marked by a mix of emotions: anger, betrayal, and a deep desire for truth. Placards and banners were held high, with messages calling for the arrest and prosecution of Pastor Samuel and Remi. The demonstrations were peaceful but powerful, reflecting the community's collective pain and determination to see justice served. Local authorities were urged to take swift action, and the media coverage helped amplify the voices of the victims and their supporters. The protests also served as a platform for many women to share their stories publicly, further exposing the extent of the couple's deceit. This collective outcry played a crucial role in ensuring that the authorities took the necessary steps to investigate and address the wrongdoings of Pastor Samuel and Remi. The community's unity and resilience in the face of such betrayal were a testament to their strength and commitment to justice. The women, empowered by their regained memories and the support of each other, sought justice and healing. Their voices, once silenced by fear and manipulation, now rang out loud and clear, bringing light to the darkness that had overshadowed their lives for so long. After the events, Naledi became a beacon of hope and resilience in her community. Her bravery in exposing Pastor Samuel and Remi's deceitful practices earned her widespread respect and admiration. She continued to support the women who had been affected, helping them find healing and justice. Naledi's actions also drew attention from local and national media, and she was invited to speak about her experiences and the importance of vigilance and discernment in faith communities. Her story inspired many to stand up against corruption and abuse, and she became an advocate for transparency and accountability in religious institutions. Despite the challenges she faced, Naledi remained steadfast in her faith. She found solace in her spirituality and the support of her friends and family. Her journey was not easy, but she emerged stronger and more determined to make a positive impact in her community. Naledi's courage and unwavering faith served as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest times, the truth can bring light and justice. Her story continued to inspire others to seek the truth and stand up for what is right. This story serves as a powerful reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and blind faith in authority figures can lead to devastating consequences. It underscores the importance of discernment, vigilance, and the courage to speak out against wrongdoing. Ultimately, it highlights the resilience of the human spirit and the power of truth to bring justice and healing. The bravery of Naledi and Julie in uncovering the truth protected other church members. Thank you for watching Granny G's stories.